organized a Thanksgiving lunch for my part of my team. Not all of them, it was just a portion of them that were present.
Okay.
And I had them all sitting down. Everybody's like, "Oh, are you gonna go?" I was like, "Oh no, you go ahead and eat," because I had the intention to talk to them and like be the
Mhm.
host and make it about them and like, hey, this is for you. This is not for me to sit down and eat at the head of the table. It's for you
Right.
all, for me to serve you. And going back to that servant leadership part.
Hi, guys. Welcome back to RTs Share Tea, where respiratory therapists live out loud. With me, your host, Linda Fry, the asthma lady. Yes. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to anyone new. And if you ever wondered on how to take control of your career and how to change challenges into stepping stones, this is the episode for you because we have another amazing guest co-host, Meliza Walsh. Yes. And she is going to be sharing the tea on emerging as a leader. Yes. All right, Melissa. So before I give you the floor, I'm going to read Melissa's bio and read her accolades, and we are just going to get right to it. Okay. So Meliza Walsh is a respiratory therapist, healthcare leader with over 10 years of neonatal and pediatric experience. She is a mother to three wonderful children and a wife to another amazing respiratory therapist. Born in El Salvador, raised in New York, hey, and spent most of her RT career serving at Children's Hospital, Colorado. She is currently the Assistant Director of the Respiratory Care Department, PFT Lab, Sleep Lab, EEG Lab at Texas Children's Hospital West Campus. Melissa is passionate about patient safety initiatives, quality improvement, and professional development. Melissa most recently graduated from the AARC Emerging Leaders Program, is the co-chair for the National Respiratory Therapy Residency Collaborative, and is an MBRC social media ambassador. Melissa, you busy, but we are so happy to have you.
Awesome.
Welcome.
Well,
Yes,
thank you
yes,
for
yes,
having
yes.
me, Linda. It's an honor. I love being here with you, especially after sharing a couple of seconds with you at AARC
Right?
Congress. That was
Oh,
awesome.
yes. Oh, yes. We love the drive-bys. Trust me. The drive-by guest co-host. But we are so happy to have you. And I just love watching you on social media because you always give me um professional, but it feels fun at the same
Oh,
time. And you remind me of me. So that's
oh,
why
you're
I'm like,
welcome.
yeah, I gotta get you on the show. So yes, very, very happy to have you. So okay, so I with every guest co-host, I ask them what drew them into the RT profession. Like what gave you the motivation or the inspiration to do this type of work?
Honestly, I think it was meant to be. I was
Okay.
actually on a track for nursing school, which I know is something we hear a lot from a lot of RTs.
Yes.
And then life just kind of pivoted, and I ended up moving to Colorado, and I had all these credits for just nursing school,
Nursing.
and kind of like looked up, well, what can I do with them? Because nursing school, it's a financial investment, and that's the thing is, it's like, it's a great career path to take, but from the get-go, super, super financially taxing. And at the time, it's just I wasn't there, and I looked up what I could do with it and found Pickens Technical College. That's actually where I
Uh-huh.
graduated from, and they had a wonderful program. They had a bridge program with the community college. And the
Okay.
reason I say it's fate is because I actually ended up applying like the week that they were closing applications, and it was
Oh,
gonna like just be done. So I remember
okay.
meeting with them, putting the application, doing my interview, doing everything that same week. And it worked out, and it was so awesome. And I think back on it, and I'm just so grateful that it worked out that way. It's been pretty
Right.
amazing, just choice that was done really quickly.
Right. I feel these are the stories that I'm hearing often as get guest co-hosts because same thing. I was a pharmacy student and same thing. I was kind of like I needed to pivot because my math grades were terrible. And I was like, well, but I was good at the science. I was like, well, what am I gonna do with all these science credits?
Yes.
And respiratory was kind of like I passed the door that had the poster. And I was
Mhm.
like, oh, this look good. So I also feel like fate. Like
Yeah.
it just came on that time. So it is a repeating story. But for you, when did you feel like validated? Like, okay, you know what? This is it. Like I made the right choice.
It actually was, I've had the honor to just work in different teams and do different things as respiratory
Okay.
therapist that I didn't think you could do because everybody immediately thinks bedside or leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody really thinks like, hey, you can go into education, you can go into leadership, you can go into research.
Mm-hmm.
And in Colorado, they have what's called the respiratory chronic care specialist, and we got to
Okay.
work with chronically ventilated children. Some organizations call it technology dependent children.
Okay.
And I met this gentleman, his name is Monty, and he had been working with the neuromuscular population for over 40 years.
Wow.
And I had a SMA patient, and the patient ended up passing, and I didn't know a whole lot about SMA coming out of school. And
Okay.
got very intrigued and started asking him questions, spent a lot of time with him. And then he announced he was retiring, and he's like, "Hey, you should apply for my position." I was like, "Ooh, walking in
Right.
after somebody that's been in this role for over
For
40
40
years."
years. I
Like,
know.
those are some big shoes. And
Right.
then I remember I had a neuromuscular patient and I was with him when we were training. And someone said to me, those are big shoes to fill. And I was like, well, that's good to know, but I don't wear Merrills. I wear heels, so I
Right.
don't have to fill his
Okay.
shoes.
I
So
like
then
that
I
answer.
think that was like such a validating point, and knowing that I was going to make my own mark working with that patient
Mm-hmm.
population. And he really made it very clear like, hey, I don't want you to be me. I want you to be you. If
You.
I wanted me to stay in the role, I wouldn't retire. And he like told me in that moment, he's like, when I met you and your passion and your drive for learning and providing safe quality care for this patient population, I knew it was time. And man, that was so rewarding to hear that. And it just, again,
Amazing.
it's one of those things where when you do the things that you do with passion and genuinely,
Mm-hmm.
people see that, and then
Yes.
opportunities that you never consider start opening up for you, which has been, I think, my story for so long in respiratory. But I think that if I had to pinpoint a time where I was like, this is it, like this is so validating, this is so awesome, it was when I started working with the chronic care team.
Nice. Okay. I also I feel like that too. That because when you're working and people can feel your
Yeah,
passion, I do feel like, I don't know, people kind of just gravitate towards you a little bit
it's
because they
contagious.
right, they want to be around that.
Yeah.
And because me too, I never thought when I started respiratory, I never thought I would be in leadership positions because I just thought like, okay, I'm introvert more mainly, and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna do my job. But um, I also I like to be a part of the team.
Yeah.
And I went to every like trauma team, every like I was just there. I was like, oh, to be the extra eyes and ears. And people, I don't know, they could tell like that I enjoy doing what I was doing. And yeah, so I can totally relate. Totally, totally, totally relate. Okay, so now we're talking about leadership. All
Yeah.
right. So for you, within your role as a leader. Um, so tell us what your challenges has been and your successes within leadership and what that looks like for you.
I'm going to start with some challenges because I think that's so important. And I was
Yeah.
recently talking to a couple of my colleagues and friends about this, and I was just saying, man, I wish that we could openly talk about our challenges as leaders because it's
Mhm.
hard.
It
And I
is.
remember first applying to my first leadership role, and the first thing they told me when they asked me the golden question of why do you want to be a leader? And I responded, I was like, oh, because I want to make a difference. I want to help others. And they're like,
Right.
it's a very lonely place, right? And I was like, oh, that was warm. But then, like, but now I get it. Like, it really is because
Right.
oftentimes you're making these decisions and
Yeah.
you have to really do a quick assessment of the big
Yes.
picture, think
Yes.
pros, cons, consequences. And at the end of the
Time.
day, when you make that decision, you have to eat the good, the bad, and everything in between.
Yes.
So I will say that my biggest challenge has been that it's it's often lonely, but we choose for it to be lonely. And I'm so glad that I have found a tribe of people that have helped me in different ways, whether
Okay.
it was through the Emerging Leaders Program, whether it was through um, my husband or,
Mhm.
just friends and RTs that I have met over time and asking questions like, hey, this is the situation I had. This is how I handled it. Because a lot of the times you can't ask for advice if it's a quick kind of thing.
Right.
And going back and self-reflecting has been something that
Yes.
I had to learn. Self-reflecting is
It's
huge.
huge.
Um,
Very,
but,
very beneficial.
but I
Yeah.
will say that two biggest struggles was growing into a leadership role within my own organization was
Okay.
a huge adjustment to go from a peer to leader.
Right.
And then the second adjustment, which is most recent, which is what I've been working through my last year, which has been integrating into a new organization where I didn't know the people, I didn't know the culture.
Right.
And one of my biggest wins was I remember meeting with Katie Burr and I was sharing with her some of my struggles.
Okay.
And she's like, Melissa, it's just all in your head. She's like, it's really about the way you think about it. It's all about mentality and how
Mhm.
you show up every day.
Right.
And as a leader, you're often having to be the cheerleader. And right
Yes.
now, your team needs you to be the cheerleader.
Yes.
And I took that advice and I was like, all right, we're going to be a cheerleader. We're going to do this.
Yes.
And we organized a Thanksgiving lunch for my part of my team. Not all of them, it was just a portion of them that were present.
Okay.
And I had them all sitting down. Everybody's like, oh, are you gonna go? I was like, oh no, you go ahead and eat. Because I had the intention to talk to them and like be the
Okay.
host and make it about them and like, hey, this is for you. This is not for me to sit down and eat at the head of the table. It's for you
Right.
all, for me to serve you. And going back to that servant leadership part. And I remember telling them, like, hey, I just want to say thank you for the grace, for the
Mm-hmm.
patience, for the
Yes.
forgiveness as I integrated. And I know it hasn't been easy, but thank you for allowing me to be part of your team. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that has been a biggest win and also apologizing and saying, I'm sorry for the ways that I fell short. And my only ask of you all is to give me feedback because I can only be the type of leader you help me become. Without that feedback, it's hard to become the leader that your team needs. And it
Right.
changes even as a team on an individual basis, or, as you
Yes.
mentioned, the different departments, they all have very different needs.
Yes.
And this is the first time that I had to manage a department outside of respiratory. So that's been a learning curve. But
Oh,
I will
yes.
tell you, the people have been so helpful. They will give me information, they will bring me the tools and resources.
Amy, I love it. I love it because you're saying so much and it's such a short time. But what I have learned as someone who had to lead folks also who were not in my department and who I had no direct authority over, it's different because people will invest in you when you invest in them and
Mhm.
they can so it's I call it good credit with people, so it's just like they see you, we're in it together, like I'm not here to be way above or anything like that. We are in it together. We're gonna figure it out. So it's a lot of we and yes, so you're you're hitting it right on the nose
Oh,
as a leader.
awesome.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm telling you. And for me, I had to do something similar where I had to go from night shift to day shift. That's its own thing. And
Oh
they were
man.
like, who is this young looking? Like I didn't know
Yes.
anybody. I literally and I did something that I wouldn't recommend. I didn't take like a break between the two positions. So I went literally from the night shift and then the next day I was like, okay, I'm
Oh
a assistant
no.
director. Right. Literally went from working as a regular staff to the next day, assistant director day shift.
Oh man.
Oh my gosh. I had the puffy eyes, like literally didn't take a day off. It was insane. But yeah, but I mean, we made it, didn't we? We did, you know
Yeah,
what I'm saying? We making it, you making it.
yes.
Um, okay, so now you mentioned the emerging leadership program, leaders program. So can you please share your experiences going through this program and just like the nitty-gritty, like how'd you get in, you know, and that stuff.
Well, they have an application process, which I think makes it really great. And you do need some reference letters, which I think helped a lot. And going back to that tribe that has helped support me and helping me achieve my goals and my dreams, I think that played a pivotal point in it. Is I had some really wonderful reference letters that I was able to submit with my application. But
Nice.
I'm also
And
a firm
oh,
believer. Oh,
I'm
go ahead.
sorry.
Yeah.
And when we're talking about we're talking about the AARC. You're there.
Yes.
Okay, so I just wanted to
Yes,
make
this is the
sure.
AARC
A,
Emerging Leaders Program. Yeah.
okay,
And it's actually, I learned a lot about the way that it even developed. It's funded by, I believe, Drager is who funds
okay,
it.
cool.
And Ed Coombs is like such an awesome, very, very humble leader.
Okay.
Got to meet him and kind of chat with him and personally thank him for spearheading and saying, hey, this is valuable and it means a lot and we should do this and partnering with the AARC to do that. And I will tell you, I'm very excited for what our current president, Dana Evans, will do with it. I know that she's
Mm-hmm.
also looking over it and doing all these
Nice.
amazing things with it. And she's such a driven leader.
I
So I'm
really
really
like
excited
Dana.
to, yes, I know. So I'm
Yeah.
really excited to see what the next group does. What I
Mhm.
will say is, I think something that helped me in particular was I didn't wait for those opportunities to present themselves to put myself out there. And that's scary.
Mhm. It
Um,
is. It
it's
is.
really scary. And I listened
It
to
is.
your previous podcast because I'm a fan
Okay.
about like public speaking and putting yourself out there and how you get through those things. And this is no different. It's not necessarily public speaking, but putting yourself out there for opportunities can
In
be very
general,
scary
it
because none of
is.
us like rejection, right? Like
Yeah.
none of us like that.
Yep.
But I really wrote, when I wrote my letter of intent, I really wrote about why I wanted to do it and what I had already done to help myself become a leader and invest in myself. And I think that that's
Mm-hmm.
all the AARC wants. You know, they're there as the body to help us become the best top-notch clinicians, and
Mm-hmm.
they're giving us the resources. So I think that they're looking for those people that are really just, they're the go-getters, the ones that want to do it, and just
Yes.
be fearless about it. Say what you want to do. And I feel so blessed that,
Yes.
I was chosen as part of the group. They had a great group.
Okay.
I still keep in touch with a lot of them,
Nice.
and even gain, not just really formal mentorship through the program,
Okay.
but we started even mentoring each other. Like I talked to
Mm-hmm.
Jessica George and Sarah Vasalik and Allie. Often we have a group text where, we'll still mentor each other and cheer each other on, which I think is super
Yes.
important.
It's important.
Um, and even
And
like
do you,
Jimmy,
oh,
yeah.
I don't want to cut you off because
Oh, you're
and do
fine.
you feel like that as a woman in the profession that we need that more, I think sometimes. Just being able to just be like as a woman, sometimes when you feel like you just need that extra cheer, I think that is very useful when it comes to, going into leadership or anything new.
I think being a woman and being young, I cannot tell you how many times they're like, you're the AD. You're the new leader. And
Yeah.
right now, I'm over a team that I think out of everybody, I think only 4 people are younger than me. And I have
Hmm.
80, like I have a ton of direct reports right now. So you do. You need that just
Yes.
reinforcement that this is the right path. You're doing the best that you can. And it's a good
Yes.
reminder to have that. And even Doug Gardenhire, who was my official
I like
mentor during
Doug.
that time,
Uh-huh.
he was so awesome. He really provided a lot of resources and was able to talk with me about some really just hard days. And I was like,
Okay.
just so grateful for all those things. But I think anybody that's interested, once the application's open again,
Hmm.
one, go for
Go
it.
for it.
But two, kind of do your work too. Invest in yourself. Mentorship
Yes.
works best when you invest in yourself first.
Yes, 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 yes. I definitely and totally agree. I always say that it is my closing statement for the show to always to invest in yourself and only compete with yesterday's version of you. This
Yes,
has
absolutely.
totally has gotten me to where I am today because you 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 have to own your career. You have to own it. Nobody's gonna make it
Yeah.
for you. So that's why I love having guest co-hosts like you who are just doing it, owning it, and just not, not letting anyone just doing it for you and having your aura. So that's why I love these type of episodes and getting folks like you on because I get DM'd a lot and I think I meet a lot of people in the healthcare field, not just in
Mhm.
respiratory,
Mhm.
but who are just trying to figure it out. Like how do I get
Mhm.
here, get to where you are? And I'm just like, well, I didn't end up like this just by waking up. Like,
Mhm.
I had to step outside my comfort zone and have a mentor and these things that you just said. Um, have a network of a support system. Very, very, very important. So you are saying you
And I
dropping
think
the
it's crazy
gems.
too,
Mhm,
Linda.
mhm.
Everybody kind of sees where you are now. They didn't see how many times like you fell
Okay.
and had to get back up and try again and do it better every time. So it's
Okay.
kind of interesting too. And I think that that's one of the things that I would love to hear. Like, man, I am a huge lover of the underdog. I love it. Like,
Huh.
I am such a huge cheerleader for the underdog and will help them anytime. But I would imagine that even getting to where you're at, I remember seeing you at the award ceremony at ARC
What?
Congress.
And,
And
and
I
I
was
couldn't
like,
figure out how to get off the stage. I was like, I'm
well, no,
so
like
nervous.
even I remember seeing you there and I was like, man, is she deserving of this recognition?
Oh my
And but
gosh.
in the back
Thank
of my
you.
head, I was also thinking, gosh, she worked so hard to also get that recognition. Like, talk about someone that has really,
Oh
I don't know if you remember
God.
when Joel Brown did like breaking the glass ceiling
Yes,
presentation.
yes, yes, yes.
That's
And
what
I
I
love
thought
him
when
too.
yeah, like
Yeah.
that's what I thought when I saw you sitting there. I was like, girl, you're just breaking glass ceilings.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I was very overwhelmed by like emotion when I saw you there. I was like, oh, this is so great. But back to like your point about as a female, you kind of need that. Like you need
Yes.
cheerleaders that cheer
Gotta
you
have
on
it.
and love your ending quote where you say, like, your only competition is
It's the
the past
yesterday's
version of you.
version.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, you will
yeah,
drive yourself absolutely nuts.
yeah,
It's like
definitely.
yes, I totally and I have I read a lot of self-help books and I think as women um we do have to support each other because and
Yeah.
that's why I always try to be make myself available to anyone that like not they feel like stuck or anything like this. I'm like, listen, we've been there, but you like you said, you got to put in the work or whatever, but that's surrounding.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so I love it. I really do love sisterhood in
Yes.
our profession and the healthcare field in general. So yeah, great vibe. So all right, so what does Melissa do for fun? Like you got the kids, I know you like me out here, the kid in the background, trying to have this meeting and the baby's making noise. I can't. But what do you do for fun? Like, you have a day off. What it look like? No kids.
So I do kind of a lot of interesting things. My husband accuses me of having I can do it better syndrome.
Oh,
I
oh,
will often like see things. I'm like, oh, I can do that. I can do that. And he's like, no, you can't. I was like, watch me. But I do like to try different things. I do enjoy running.
okay,
Once I moved, it was really hard for me to stick to it, but I'm getting back into it. So in my downtime, I do enjoy running.
okay,
Um, my
okay,
guilty pleasure at the moment, I'm gonna get so much judgment for this, but it's going to bar class. It's kind of like Pilates, but more geared towards like ballet. It's
Oh,
really,
okay,
yeah, like,
okay,
yeah,
okay,
it's called
okay,
pure bar, but it's challenging myself. So anything that challenges me, I really enjoy to do. I don't have like
okay,
a specific thing. Like I can go for a run, I'll go for a walk, I'll watch a good
okay.
movie. Wicked was amazing. I,
Okay.
yeah, Wicked was
I like me
great.
some Broadway.
Yes,
I've never I know that people gonna I've never seen Wicked. Even though I love
that's
Broadway.
okay.
I
It's
have to get
fine.
to that one. Okay, okay.
Yeah, but I think I picked up crochet one day
I,
just for fun,
I
just to see if
loves
I
the arts
could.
and crafts. Okay.
Yes, yeah.
That's what I
So
do for fun. I do arts and crafts and I like to turn things that are busted and make them look
mhm,
pretty again. So yeah, that's
yeah.
like my thing. Okay.
I
Uh-huh.
most recently baking. I didn't grow up in a baking household. So now that I have a kitchen mixer, I started baking. So that's my new thing. That's what I've been doing for fun, which might cost me. So I might have to keep running if I want to keep baking.
Oh my gosh. I know you're doing two opposite things. I said, I just thought about that. I said, wait a minute. She's exercising and eating sweets. Nice.
I know it's bad. It's okay. It's worth
As
it.
someone that has a sweet tooth myself, so I totally get it. Okay, so yeah, no, this is good. So because I also like to talk about the self-care stuff and especially as a leader, making sure we're making time for ourselves, especially as women, get caught up in everybody comes first. You know how that is with the
Mhm.
kids,
Yeah.
hubby, parents, so there's so many things that we have, so many hats that we wear. So I also think it's important to show how we make time for ourselves. And you mentioned something earlier. You said something, you said grace as a
Mhm.
leader, giving yourself grace and knowing that you're not perfect and
Mhm.
it's okay. It's okay. So I think as a leader, as a woman leader too, sometimes we fall into that like to be a leader, I have to be perfect and it's not.
Mhm.
That's not so.
Yeah,
Right?
for sure.
Okay, so do you have any closing remarks? What advice well, you basically said it already, but to anybody who is like, I want to be a leader in the future, what would you say to them?
I think just my biggest advice for everybody is just be authentically you. And I think it aligns so well, even with a lot of the messages and the podcasts and the co-hosts that you have had, is you are very intentional about having such authentic people co-host with
Mhm.
you. They're authentically themselves. Every person that I know that I've heard your podcast for has been very different, very unique, but
Mhm.
very successful in what they do. And I think that,
Yes.
the passion that drives you, just lean into it and be you. Because there's nobody else that will be you. There's no one else that will have that perspective. And give yourself, going back to that grace, give yourself a lot of
Mhm.
grace because you won't do it perfectly the first time or the second time. It'll
Right?
take some time. And just know that we all fail.
Mm-hmm.
We all fail in hopefully, not sure, we'll know later on, but I I'm I submitted a talk to talk about intelligent failure. And that's
Okay.
something that
I like
I
that.
had to learn. Yeah, it's just like, okay, if I fail, that's fine. What did I learn from it?
What
What am
did
I
you
going to do
learn?
different? Yes, and
Correct.
that self-reflect moment and ultimately just really take care of your mind as a leader.
Hmm.
That is your greatest tool and your biggest traitor because you will fool yourself into thinking that you're not a good leader because something didn't go as you had wanted it to.
Right.
That happens.
It does.
Just a quick excerpt of an example. I actually had a leader that reported to me, and I had to tell her on her last day, I'm sorry I was not the right leader for you.
Wow.
And my husband's like, wow, I can't believe you said that to that person. And I was like, but it's true. I wasn't the right leader for them. I wasn't the leader that they needed. And I think it's accepting that even in a leadership role, there will be people that will be a lot more receptive to your leadership. And
Right.
there will be people that won't be. Those people will exist, and just try your best.
That's all you
Try
can
your
do.
best, have good intent. And as long as your heart is pure,
Correct.
that's all you can do.
All you can do.
Yeah.
Melissa, I love it. Gave some amazing gems. Oh, wow. Okay. So we have a few minutes. Is there anything you want to promote? How can people find you? Your social media handles? Go ahead. Plug, plug, plug.
So super exciting. And I waited to post it here. I kind of teased about it on LinkedIn a couple months ago. So as you know, my husband he published the Neopeds respiratory care textbook.
Okay.
So
Oh,
we are super
yes.
excited that I actually will be joining him in this adventure as we're revising the book that will be published
Nice.
next year.
Okay.
So I'm very excited about that. I've never done this before, so it's a great just opportunity to do something together and awesome and contribute to the profession in a long-lasting kind of way, and especially knowing that
Mm-hmm.
neo-peds is both of our passions. Um,
Right.
but if you want to find me, I am on LinkedIn, I am on Instagram, I am
Yes.
almost everywhere. And if people just jump on your page, they'll find me all over your page, loving on you.
Mhm. I will definitely put your handles in the description and all that good stuff. And I'm very excited for you guys. That is
Yeah,
amazing. And especially doing it like you said, you both have a passion for that. So that is an amazing opportunity and I'm excited for y'all. So
thank you. Yeah, we are
I'll look out for that.
awesome. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Melissa. Thank you so much for being here with us. Thank you guys so much for being here with us and for listening. I hope you learned something here today. And just remember that we are here on most podcast platforms on Wednesdays, except for when I'm on vacation. And we are on YouTube on Thursdays. We just want to say that we are growing together and thank you so much. All right, guys. So I will see you next time. And remember to invest in